What do you say?
Yeah. Are those the?
I couldn't resist. I know you caught my joke before I even did.
He thinks it has a good chance of getting it through the Senate. The question I have is about the House. How do you feel about the idea of medical cannabis?
I'm not nuts about it. This whole space of marijuana, medicinal, recreational, hats off to Colorado that through states' rights, they could propose a law that would violate federal code and have these recreational marijuana shops that you can't even deposit the money in banks because they're federally insured and it's against federal law. I just find the whole area to be so subjective. And it's been lost on me, even when we had bills before regarding anti-seizure medicine, whether marijuana or some cannabis byproduct qualifies. We're not physicians. I don't know why, in regards to medical care, it's a political question. Don't we have an infrastructure to test drugs, to decide what people should take that would, help people when they're sick, when they need relief from pain? I just find as a lawmaker to be completely unprepared to handle medical questions and what's appropriate for medical care or not. And so what I worry is that we're really not talking about medical care. We're just trying to potentially maybe legalize marijuana. And for me, I'm not interested in going in that direction.
The bill is coming out pretty late in the session too. Does that lessen its chances of getting any kind of serious debate? I mean, you have a lot of other issues and running out of time.
It doesn't eliminate the possibilities, but sure, anything that we're hearing as we get to the final 2 weeks of the session makes it harder to get through the whole process. And so it's more of a challenge. Any bill that comes out now and needs a committee hearing in both houses and affirmative votes on each House and Senate floor, that's going to be a harder thing to do, not just for that bill, but for really any bill.
I got a question about your caucus, and I wonder if I can get a clear answer on this one. Are you going to allow the Healthy Utah bill out and onto the floor if you do not have 38 votes in the House Republican caucus?
Yeah, it's not that's a hypothetical, because the reality from our caucus is that the support for Healthy Utah, even combined with minority party members' votes, would not even come close to being the constitutionally required 38 votes.
So you don't have 26 in your caucus?
Not even close.
What do you got in your caucus?
I can't say. It was a closed caucus.
Well, it could change. I mean, that was a week ago.
It's true. Here's the challenge, Bob. If you don't have the votes, I don't know the point of moving a bill through. Every bill goes through a process. You have a rules committee that sifts bills. They look at with the same eye on whatever topic it is in terms of viability. Is it serious legislation? You have to know that there is some chance to see that bill be successful. If you don't believe, whether you're in a rules committee or for myself looking at it, if you don't believe that that's the case, then you do know that there are plenty of bills, to Lisa's point about lack of time and having a difficult path getting through the whole process to get final passage before we finish the session. There are enough bills that are in the game that have a chance, that need to be heard, that I don't want a topic to become political pageantry and we're just going to hear it just to hear it. I have to believe that it is viable, and I've not seen enough support in the House to believe that it has any remote chance in its current form.
It did pass the Senate today, so where do you go from here?
It'll sit in the Rules Committee. If the Rules Committee thinks
where does the overall discussion go from here?
Well, our discussion is to other critical areas. We have spent more time on this issue than any other piece of any bill or any piece of policy up until now or moving forward. We won't have the amount of time to spend as we have spent on this issue. So we feel like we have, through our all-day caucus in December, through the meetings that we've had, we have a conservative caucus, but we found that House members, Republican and Democrat, attended that meeting. It had the director from the health department, Dr. Patton, there. The lieutenant governor was there. We had Republicans and Democrats. We had state senators in that meeting. We dedicated 2 of our caucus meetings last week solely and only to this issue. We think that we have delved into this thoroughly. And when the end result is that you don't see support, even to the scenario that Bob described, where you could have a minority of the caucus join with the Democrats to pass it, even that scenario isn't real. So we have to, at some point you have to move to these other critical issues we have. We call them big rocks, okay? You have the transportation issue that we've got to sort out. Education funding is always a lengthy debate and an important debate. So there's other issues that take the time, and some of those things have been disadvantaged because we've spent so much time on this particular issue. We haven't had as much time spent on some of the other critical issues that we are now well involved in and starting to see movement.
So if I understand you right, you're done with Medicaid expansion this session.
We're done with the
issues.
proposal of Healthy Utah, and I think that in a caucus as big as we have, there wasn't this leadership team doesn't have the ability to say this is what we want you to do. If you saw the debate on that we had in our caucus just yesterday, I think the caucus showed clear signs that if they don't agree with a proposal, they don't have to do it. And I think they exercised their prerogative yesterday quite easily. So there's no heavy hand going on anywhere in this process. The best thing we could do as a leadership team is present good information, and we believe that good information drives good decisions. Well, we have let everyone who has been an advocate of Medicaid expansion, whether it be through Healthy Utah, a more moderated approach, or a wait and see approach, we let those debates occur. We let information be shared, and ultimately we took a vote. And so it's not, Lisa, if there's an idea, if there's a way forward that someone wants to bring and that you can find collaboration and support, great. But Healthy Utah, as it's been presented, as the bill looks and as it's passed out of the Senate, does not have legs in the House at all.
So is there a possibility for another alternative Medicaid expansion to come up now in the House? Or again, are you done with that discussion this session?
I'll just say, I'll never say never, and I'll just leave it at that.
So is doing nothing not an option now?
Well, there
I mean,
is,
is it- Is it an option now?
there is, no, it's not. I'll tell you this. You will find that people will make a strong argument that even some of the willingness for waivers that have come even within weeks from HHS, some of the discussions that have happened, if anything, a wait and see or continue this process beyond our 45th day of the session is not a do nothing option. It's actually still moving forward in that direction, but there are no hard deadlines, and there is an argument about continuing this debate even beyond this general session and still looking for how we could move into that direction. But, there's other scenarios too where people could maybe coalesce around a different plan. I think, though, that there's just too much uncertainty, and where you see 2.0 being a process where you try it for 2 years and you expand it statewide. And I just don't believe, whether it's politically or principally, you can pull away healthcare once you provide it. It may sound good. Maybe some people's motive is let's just get there. And then I'd like to see, of the list of advocates, who would go on the record and say now they would actively support pulling this care away at any time. I don't think it's the right thing to do. I think if the state of Utah decides to expand Medicaid coverage, either through a plan like Healthy Utah or some other version, you've got to know what you're doing and you've got to be prepared for the long haul. And I think that that's something that we owe our constituents and that we have to be able to do. So I think without being able to answer those questions, that's the holdup.
So the caucus has the same position on the other bill that's being called Frail Utah as it does Healthy Utah. It
doesn't have that approach does not have a caucus, a 38 or more either. That approach doesn't have the support either.
Maybe the majority leader could weigh in on whether or not there is another option that the House might be able to coalesce around on Medicaid expansion, since you know those.
Well, I work on this each day, and I have said, we have always said that we're willing to work, we're willing to negotiate, we're willing to try to find in the space of the coverage gap, something that would help Utahns and something that would provide health care to those that need it. And I think that offer is still on the table. We are running out of time. The speaker's correct. We have some other big rocks that we got to lift. And this has become the Medicaid session, and we've got transportation, anti-discrimination, and other ones. So we're running out of time. Somebody really wants to accomplish something, then we would need to do it in the near term.
Do you see, as a person that knows this better than anyone, do you see an option that might surface?
Possible.
Speaker.
It's possible. As I said, I work on this each day. Okay, I don't think I have wavered. I have said from the beginning, we are willing to negotiate, to compromise, to try to solve the problem of covering Utahns in a way that's sustainable and eliminates at least as much of the uncertainty as we can.
Are you going to come up with something?
I work on it every day.
Quick question.
But do you have your own plan?
Is that what you're
I don't have a
working
plan that has my name on it.
Do you think there's room to negotiate with Senator Shiwazawa and his proposal?
I suppose that would be up to Senator Shiwazawa. Again, I have said, there's a lot of real estate between not doing anything right now and continue to try to address and find out some of the uncertainty and try to get more flexibility versus full Medicaid expansion. There's a lot of territory in between. Somebody's interested in meeting us at a position that our caucus would accept, then we have always been willing to consider that.
Last, a question about the other big rock you talked about, the anti-discrimination rock. Is that moving? Is it going anywhere? What's happening with that?
There are great conversations and dialogue occurring. I'm hopeful. I couldn't tell you if it's two bills or if it's one. I think that, but I do believe that there's progress being made, and we're hopeful to see can address both those issues. Again, I hate saying anti-discrimination and religious liberties in different breaths. I honestly think just disparate treatment. We need to treat everyone with dignity and respect, whether it's because of the church you attend or the lifestyle you choose to live. I think we ought to be treating each other the same. So I'd like to see that as one bill, but I do think there is progress being made and there's great negotiations.
That bill is there any? Has it been drafted? Is it there?
There's drafts,
Yeah,
certainly, and there's language that's being discussed. But as far as a finished product, we're not there.
You probably saw the interview KSL and Deseret News had with the police officer who says that his religious liberty rights were violated because he was asked to ride his motorcycle.
I've not seen the interview, but I've met with that individual.
And so you're familiar with
I
this
am.
case. Do you feel that's the kind of thing that needs to be protected by the state?
Well, as I listen to this officer's experience, to me, having a general policy that would have allowed someone to take a shift for any reason, just an overall policy would have solved that problem for me. Not picking the reason why you'd like to change that shift, but that you have a policy that can accommodate for that seems reasonable to me. So I do see similarities in his experience and how I believe he could have been treated more in a fair way with people that, whether it's the LGBT community and why they feel that they need those similar protections. I think you can come up with policy that could satisfy both.
Is that the role of the state though to make
No, it's
the law?
employment. I mean, there's we got an HR director over there. He can tell you that he just ran. I mean, I think you have employment laws. You have areas already that exist for housing and employment that the state weighs into, and certainly we could do it in this space.
Would that policy extend to responsibilities that law enforcement provides?
No, and I think that if you listen to this officer, at no point when he was looking to change his shift, would on any level that would have been crowd enforcement or anything that would have required police presence, he was ready to do. It was more of the theatric or the just, I don't know, what do you call the motorcycles when they do the patterns, and
Leading off
it's
the parade.
it's an entertaining. What's that?
Leading off the parade.
Yeah, well, it's the entertaining. It's the circles and everything.
In front of the parade, the honor guard.
Yeah.
On motorcycle.
And I think the rhetorical question he asked is if this was a Gail Rosika Eagle Forum parade, or if this was a parade for another interest that people might have had an opinion of whether that organization's if that organization was appropriate. Would the police fill the same role? Would it do the same? Would it lead the parade on a myriad of topics? And if that's true, and that's what they do, I think his comfort level would have been more as well. So I think those are great questions to ask, but I think what would have solved all of those issues is if you just had a general policy that doesn't pick what's more appropriate than something else to ask for your shift to change. You just have some accommodations where people can change their shift if they'd like.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.